We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show. We'll be seeing you on that foreign show. We'll be seeing you. We'll be seeing you every Friday here at TFS. That foreign show.
Entrando por tus oídos hasta llegar al centro de tus emociones, ADR Networks está en este momento
activando tus sentidos.
ADR Networks presenta.
This is Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isaac Crouch.
And this is...
Foreign Show!
On that foreign show.
Yes, y'all. What it do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, races. Welcome to That Foreign Show here on ADR Networks, activating your senses. My name is Isaac Rakesh, and I have my guest with me here today. Make some noise for Din. Yeah.
Hello.
How's it going, man? I don't know if you can hear the applause, but yeah.
Yes, everything's okay.
Okay, right. Din, now, according to our tagline, we said, just how many languages does our polyglot guest from China, Din, speak? Before we get into that, why don't you tell the people a bit about your story? Like, how do you end up here in Mexico?
Well, it's a long story, but I decided to come to Mexico because I want to learn Spanish. That's the only reason. So I just came here and I learned Spanish, and then I think, I need to learn something else. That's why I entered to the university. So now I'm kind of like, I know Chinese Mandarin. I speak a Chinese dialect. I speak English. Before I came to Mexico, I already know, but now I'm kind of forgetting English. And I speak Spanish. Yes, and Thai, and now I'm learning Russian and Nahuatl. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so, but what made you decide to come to this part of the world?
Well, because when I was in China, I met many Latino friends, and I really like the vibes of the people here because it's very different from Asian people, I think, because I don't know, I just feel like they know how to express themselves and like that. So it makes me very curious about the culture here. So I just say, why not? I should go there and have a look. So in 2016, I came here just like tourist. I just came here to have a look. I liked it. So in 2017, I came here, and since then I stay here until now.
So what was your impression when you okay, first of all, what were these Latin people doing in China? Like you said, you met some Latin people over there. What were they doing there?
Well, they work there. Because I came from a city that is full of factories, especially toys factories. So they work there, and then I met them. So we make friends and so on.
Which part of China is this?
How can I say that? It's close to Hong Kong, but a
Okay.
little bit over there. Yeah.
Right. Because in some documentaries you see, I mean, I saw this documentary recently, and they said certain parts of China, right, like especially the manufacturing areas, like if you go through certain parts, it's like this whole area just dedicated to manufacturing one
Yeah.
thing, like
Yes,
cameras.
that's true.
Then you move on to like shoes, something like that. Yeah. Is it something like that? That part of where you're from, like you said, a lot
Yeah.
of factories and stuff.
Yes, like where I'm from is called Shanghai, and that place, I can say like maybe 90% of the toys of all over the world come from my city. It's a very very big city. Well, like big
Yeah.
factory of toys, I think.
Wow. And so, but you decided to do something else with your life, like not engineering or not manufacturing or.
Well, I was working in factories actually, and I just don't like it because I feel like kind of like machine, like I don't know, I that's not what I like. So I didn't want to continue there, so I just came here to find other opportunities.
I think the people are kind of fascinated with polyglots like yourself, people who can speak many languages, and also interested to know how your brain functions, like how do you move about. So why don't you tell the people a bit about your loves, like what interests you, and the things that get your attention.
About the languages.
Yeah, about the languages, or about just like in general, like because this whole question about when you hear someone who tells you I can speak three languages, and then you say, okay, so what do you think in, or what do you dream in? These questions. Yeah, and then when people ask these questions, I guess it's because they're trying to figure out what makes your mind tick. So maybe you can tell the people what makes your mind tick.
Oh, well, like I like language because, well, to begin with, because where I'm from, that city has a lot of foreigners. So I at the beginning I was thinking like, oh, all the foreigners just speak English. So I knowing English is enough to communicate with all of them. But that's not true because I found that, oh, there are people speaking other language, but they also speak English too. So that made me feel very interested about languages. There's one thing in Chinese that I really like is that in Chinese we have this kind of thing called classifiers. So, for example, a cup of water, a bottle of water, a cup or a bottle is the classifier of water. And in this case, in Chinese, we say a door of language. We don't say a language, we say a door of language because I
Oh
think
wow.
that this is very cool. I think because like a language allows you to enter to another culture, to understand and to communicate and to learn more in that new culture. That's what I really like. That's why I'm learning many languages.
That's really interesting. A door of language. So, like Aldous Huxley's book, Doors of Perception, it's like it kind of brings that to mind. When you're using a language, it's kind of like a door, right? Like
Mm.
it's not really a container, but it's kind of like a thoroughway, right? Wow, that's really interesting.
Yes, it's
What
like
what, what are the phrases like in a container examples of in Chinese that you would use, like let's say, okay, how would you describe like words? Like would you say like like in English we say a whole bunch of words, a whole bunch of words, right? So in Chinese,
oh, oops. Let me
that would
think.
be
Oh, like maybe there's a lot of like metaphor things. I'm not
right,
sure.
right, right.
Like we can say, for example, um, a bunch. I think it's also 一
Yeah.
堆词. It's also okay.
It was stretching there. Okay, yeah. Okay, so it's the same. But that's really interesting. The language is a door of language, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So and then when you actually, I mean, so you had this idea that learning English is good enough for you to travel
No.
around the world, right? You
Well,
had that idea, right?
I think like around the world, like let's say, for example, most of the people learn English as their second language. So, like knowing English, I think is enough, like to go to some international cities,
Right.
right? But if you really want to be part of the like not just knowing the culture as a foreigner, like if you want to be part of it, you have to learn the language of that place. No.
Right.
Yes.
And so you decided on Spanish before you came to this part of the world, or?
Well, like in my case, because firstly I already know English, and I think knowing English is not enough, and I am really into the Latin culture, so I say, oh yes, of course I need to learn Spanish. So I came here, like I learned for about a month Spanish, and then I start to do other stuff. But yes, like I think knowing Spanish helped me a lot, like to understand more of how people think here, because language reflects a part of oh, how can I say that? Yes, like how can I say that? For example, like saying one language reflects one personality. It's really different.
Right. Okay. So, but would you say then if you are speaking in Chinese, there is a version of yourself, I mean, a version, and then when you're speaking in Spanish, there's a different version, something like that, right?
Yeah, of course. Like the voice change, the personality change, because like it's just different. Mhm.
Yes. But then how do we, because we're always trying to find or speak from our real self, our true self, right? And sometimes with languages, when you are engaged in a particular language and you're talking to people, sometimes you do have to use certain phrases, certain metaphors, and maybe you don't really quite vibe with those things. Like, what do you do in those situations? Like when you are talking to someone in Mexico and they are speaking a certain like they're talking about a certain thing that you don't quite vibe with. Do you change, like change like you understand where they're coming from and so you try and meet them where they're talking at? Or what do you do?
It's difficult. It's
Mm.
difficult. Like when somebody start to say maybe some slangs or something like that
Okay,
that I
some
don't
flags, yeah.
understand. Oh, well, I just remember them, but when everybody starts to laugh and so on, I would just like, oh, okay, I didn't get it, but I will check it later. And
Mm.
that's what I do. Like, I learned a lot of like expressions that is very local here. Um, yes, but like when I'm how can I say that? Like when I'm facing this situation,
Hmm.
I don't know, it's a little bit difficult to deal with.
And do you try and speak from a more universal place?
Sorry, what do you mean? Oh,
Well, I mean, like sometimes when I'm thinking of this because sometimes back home, in Singapore, and when you're talking to some people and certain things, like for example, let me give you an example. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. So you go visiting to your relative's place, right?
Mhm.
Okay, during some kind of dinner or something, and then your relatives are looking at you and they be like, "Hey, Din, long time no see. When are you gonna get married? When are you gonna have children?" Okay, now this is an example. We understand why they're asking that, right? Culturally we understand, okay, Chinese culture, Asian culture, they want to know that you have, where's your family, they want to see your children, they want to see the next generation. But for you personally, maybe that's not so interesting to you at this point, right? So
Mhm.
how do you navigate, how do you deal with these kind of situations? Like you're speaking the language, but then you get pulled into a place where you don't really want to engage. So how do you stay universal? How do you stay, what I'm saying?
Oh
Like
my
how do
god.
you stay cool?
It's like I think it's more like a cultural shock, Like I don't know. Like, for example, if even if I speak that language, but if they put me into a weird conversation or
Uh-huh.
something like that, I don't know. I would feel like very. I don't know how to say it.
Yeah,
Just
but
like nervous.
because you speak like seven languages, right? Close, pretty much close to seven languages,
Over
right?
there, around there,
Yes.
yeah.
So yeah, and what are those languages again? Nahuatl is one. That's really interesting. You're attempting to learn that one.
It's
You're
very
Russian,
similar to Chinese, actually.
similar to Chinese. Okay,
Yes,
and you mentioned Thai as well.
Thai. Yeah, yeah,
Thai,
yeah.
Nahuatl, Russian. These cultures are pretty different, right? Would you
Very,
say?
very different. Yeah.
Have you experienced Russian and Thai culture firsthand?
Uh, well, like my Russian experience is not like that great yet because I just study Russian in the university, but
Okay.
I cannot speak it very well yet. But like I don't know, like when I speak with Russian people, I feel like it's very different, like how they think, how they behave. It's very different to other people. While when I speak Thai, like I have to be polite every time because like you need to say like crap 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 at the end
Okay.
every sentence to be polite, right? So it makes me feel a little bit like tiny, and I have to be like very polite all the time. So
Right.
it
See, so that's the kind of the point that I was saying. Like you are in Thailand, you're speaking Thai, and you're being polite all the time because you're speaking the language, and it's like kind of culturally accepted in that way. But then sometimes you don't feel nice. Maybe you're in a bad mood or something. You know what I mean. And then you're speaking Thai, so the person who's communicating with you might kind of expect certain behavior from you. They might expect certain replies, certain standard replies. So in those situations, how do you deal with it? Like, do you just politely just say, "I gotta go," you know what I'm saying? Or
yes, I
all
think
right.
so. I don't
Mm,
want to have trouble, so I will try to be nice and yes.
yeah, that's cool. Because for example, when you see a foreigner speaking your native language, you assume that, oh, this guy, he has come he has embraced my culture, right? Like, okay, Din has embraced my Thai culture. So, but because of that, sometimes we put certain expectations. Do you experience that in your travels? Yes, right? Like when you
Yeah,
move from
yeah,
place to place.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you give us an example, or something that happened? Something where you are speaking Russian, you're speaking, and then suddenly you find yourself.
Well, I remember like
Uh-huh.
well, it's just when I arrived to Mexico, I don't know Spanish at all at the
Right.
time, so I have to like I just speak as how can I say that for example I don't conjugate the verbs. I just say whatever, and people
Right.
need to try to understand me, right? So
Uh-huh.
at that part, I went to a Mexican friend's house, and it was like I think it was on Christmas,
Okay.
and his mother was giving me a lot of food. But at that time, or in Chinese, I can say like in my culture, if you don't want it, you just say no.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
all.
Okay.
But my friend started to feel bad, and he started telling me, "No, you don't need to. You cannot say that." I was like, "Why? Because I don't want it." Because for me, it's okay to say I don't want it, right?
Yes.
But here it's very bad or it's very rude
Or
to
rude.
say
Yes.
that to someone.
Yeah.
Or you need to say like, "Oh, muy amable, muchas gracias," something
Mm,
like that. You cannot just say no because
right.
it's very rude. And that is another thing that I find out like here most of the people don't like to reject somebody, like they don't
Okay.
like
They
to
don't
say
like to say
no.
no.
Yes,
Okay.
they prefer to say something else than saying the word no. Like that's difficult for me because like I have one situation is like I was really, how can I say, I didn't understand what was happening at the case
Mhm.
because I found that guy. He like I told him about a project and something like that, and I really need his help. But maybe for him, it's very bad to reject me at that moment. So he
Okay.
said, "Okay, I can see it later." Yeah. Okay. So later, when I really need him, he
Uh-huh.
just give me another excuse saying that, oh, like I just cannot do that. And I was like very angry because like in my culture, if you accept something, you need to do it.
Right.
But what he did was just accept it, and he didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
And in Asian culture, like in Chinese culture, I can say it's very bad, like because he just wanted to be nice for a second,
Okay.
he's causing a lot of trouble for me later, right? Something like that. So this is a very big shock for me. Like people don't like to say no. At the beginning, I just don't know that it's not okay to say too much no to us. No.
In Chinese culture, it's pretty normal to say no, right?
I think so. I think so. So
Yeah. And if someone's asking you to do something and you don't want to do it, you would just say no, right?
yes, I think it's okay in China to say that. And in most of the places, for example, like in restaurant or in the bank and something like that, people are not polite. Most of the time, they are not polite, right? So,
Okay.
for example, if you go to a Chinese restaurant, like let's say a restaurant, like kind of like to order and to take away,
Okay.
those people they are very I can say that they just want to do everything fast, so they don't care about the formalidad. They just say whatever they want. So for example, you are making the line.
Okay.
"Hey, what do you want? Okay, 30, pay there, next one." That's all. That's how they speak. They won't say like, ay, ¿qué le gustaría ordenar? No, nothing. We are just so straight,
Mm,
kind of rude in that case.
kind of
So
rude, kind of
mm,
direct, right?
yeah. We
And
are
over here, it's like when you go to a restaurant, the first thing is you greet the person, right? You say "Buenas tardes," "¿Cómo
yes.
estás?"
Yes,
And
this
you're gonna
part is
order.
very
Mm.
yeah, because in China we don't do that. And now I remember like last time when I went to China in 2019, I went back and I was trying to do the same thing as here, right? Like here you can say to the people, "Ay, muchas gracias," when
Okay.
they bring you the food, something like
Okay.
that. You can say whatever you want. But in China, people just think that, oh, you are just doing your job. So why I have to thank you if you are just doing your job? So people just don't say that. So when I went there, I say, oh, 谢谢你, 谢谢你.
Uh-huh.
They were looking at me like, what is that? And they just go away. And I feel like, oh,
Wow.
that's weird.
That is wow. That is. So can you? Okay. So when you said "谢谢你" or thank you for the food, and when they look at you, do they look at you like you're crazy?
Kind of like that because it's something weird. It's like something that, well,
What's wrong with this guy?
it's like, well, I have to say like not in all parts of China is like that, but at least in my city
Right.
people are very direct. So yes, that person was looking at me like, what was that?
Mm,
And I was like, oh, I just wanted to be nice. Well, I didn't say anything, but I was just like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done it, right?
oh man.
Or for example, the same thing like here is very normal, and I really like this part. I like how people like treat each other. Like for example, in this case, like being very polite and like being grateful for everything. I
Yeah.
think this is very good. And
Yes,
also like here, people are very touchy. Like we can hug each other, something like that. I remember like last time when I went back. I met my dad
uh-huh.
in the airport. So I was thinking like, oh, come on, like I have like more than 2 years without meeting you. I have to give you a big hug. So
Yes.
I just hugged my dad, and
Uh-huh.
he was like, "What is happening here? Are you okay? Something is wrong or what?" No, I just hugged him. I was like, I don't know how to express this kind of feeling, because like
Man.
In Chinese culture, we prefer not to like express our feelings that much. So at that situation, when I hugged my dad, he was like shocked. He was like, "Ugh, I don't know what to do with you."
But let
Yeah.
me ask you a question then. Do Chinese people, I mean, do they express the emotions much to each other?
No, we don't. We nearly, how can I say that? Like we don't express ourselves that much.
Okay.
We, for example, we never say like "I love you." We never say like we don't like to express that part.
That part, right? The
Instead,
the the lovey-dovey part, right? Uh-huh.
the like that's not like I cannot stand for every Chinese, but in
Yes,
my
of course.
case, I think like we just don't do that because it's
Why
weird.
why do you think that is?
I don't know, but in this case, I think like that is something that I don't really like in my culture. Because after accepting the Mexican culture here, I really like this part, and I think it is essential to let people know that you are needed. Like, for example, to tell your parents, to tell your family, whoever you want, like I need you, and you are a very important person for me. Like, this is very important to have this connection between all of these people you love. But in my culture, it's like, no, we just don't say it, and it's bad. I think, like, I don't want to back to that part, like I don't like it, because
Did
we
you
just
say
don't,
you don't want to beg to that?
I don't want to go back to that situation.
I'll go
Like,
back to that situation. Right.
yes, like the situation that nobody tells you that I love you, you are such a nice person. No, I don't want to go back there, because
Wow.
it's
This
bad.
is so. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining us right now, welcome to the show, TFS, that foreign show, here on ADR Networks. My name is Isaac, and I'm talking to my guest here, Din, today. And we're talking about languages. Now, Din, in case you don't know, he's a polyglot. He speaks many languages, a lot of interesting languages as well. And right now, we're kind of talking about this very interesting gray area, right? Won't you say, Din? It's a kind of a gray area when it comes to dealing with different languages, because with languages, it's not just a different language, it's a different culture.
Mhm.
So in
Totally.
some cultures, you can be very expressive with your emotion and with your love, but in certain other cultures, it might not work. It might not translate across, right? Wouldn't you say? There's something I don't understand. You see, for example, we just said that Chinese people don't really express their emotions so much, right? But I think they don't. Certain emotions they do express. Like, for example, if you are supposed to be buying food and you're taking too long to come up with your order, they will say, "Ah, quite hey, come on, hurry up!" This kind of emotions they express, or anger, right? Like, what do you mean you didn't get 100 out of 100 for your maths exam? Or I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean, right? So certain type of emotions, maybe they feel more. It's better to show anger because it might motivate my children, or you know what I mean. If I show love to another person, maybe I look weak. Do you
Mhm.
think this is the case?
Mm, I get what you wanted to say, but maybe like Asian parents, Chinese parents want to like have this like figure, right?
Mhm.
Like, I'm a tough parent. I have
Right.
my kids will be tough as I do, something like that. I think that maybe that's real, but. I don't know, but like, for example, this kind of emotion, like anger and this kind of emotion, yes, like everybody express it without problem.
Yeah.
But it's weird when like when we talk about love
Love.
or being kind to someone
Being
else.
kind. Right.
This emotion, I don't know why we try to hide it away, right?
Mm.
It's weird.
Well, that's really interesting. And if we jump to the other side of the world, where we are right now, in Mexico, or this part of the world, it's kind of different, right? I mean, over here, like what you're saying, sometimes you find the experience when you're dealing with people, they want to be nice so much that they have a problem with drawing the line, drawing where's their boundary by saying no. Like, if you want to say you want to work on a project with a person, they would just say yes, even though they mean no, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So, man, wouldn't you say it's so interesting? Like, you get these two kind of different kind of ways of being. I mean, I understand too, because me, Celestine, we are from Singapore, and so we understand that whole Asian idea, that ideal.
Mhm.
Like, if you're walking on the street, what would happen in China or Asia, in your opinion, if you're walking on the street and you see someone there and you say, "Hey, good afternoon,"
It's weird. It's so weird. Like, you don't know, then how? Why do you need to
that dude
talk?
who's probably working, he'd be like, "What?"
Yeah, it's
Right?
weird. It's weird.
It's weird that it's weird, right? Isn't it weird that
Mhm.
it's weird?
Or yes, or for example, like if you like here, it's very normal to say like provecho. to
Yes.
the people that you don't know.
Yeah.
But in China, you'll be like, "Oh, who are you? Like, why do you talk to me? Because I don't know you." It's
In China, they would say something like 吃吧,吃饭吧. Uh-huh.
吃
Something like
慢慢吃, for
慢慢吃,
example.
uh-huh.
But weird. Like maybe if we are friends and we're at the same table, I finish before you.
Uh-huh.
So I will say, "Oh, 慢慢吃, 慢慢吃." That's
Okay.
okay. But I won't say that to the whole restaurant. That's weird. Yes.
Viewers, in case you're wondering, 慢慢吃 is eat slowly. You know, it's like telling the person, "Hey, eat your food slowly." It's supposed to be like loving. It's supposed to be like what a parent would say to a kid, or what you would say in a restaurant when you're eating and you want to say something like "Bon appetit" or "Provecho." You say
Mhm.
慢慢吃, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's really interesting that you have this. What other experiences like? Have you been to Russia or any part along those lines where you can speak?
Oh, no, not yet, but I'm planning to go to Thailand next year. Well, actually, next year I will graduate from my university and I will go back to China with two of my friends from that I met in the university. We
Okay.
will go around China. We will travel to several places, like to know, because I think like I don't know my country that much because I didn't have the chance to travel to several parts. So I think okay, next year I will go there, like go to China, and then later I want to go to Thailand with my mom, like at least for a week, a month, something like that. That's the reason why I learned Thai, because I want to go to Thailand, like without the company of the travel agency. Like I
Yeah.
just go there with my mom, and we can go wherever we want. I can speak with the people there, so that's what I'm planning to do. Yes.
Yo, I think you're gonna love Thailand. I mean, the Thai people are really, really genuinely nice people, you know, and
Mhm.
the whole culture of, I think it's a Buddhist thing, you know. They are very loving and open to people.
Mhm.
Yes, and yeah, we really enjoy all our times in Thailand. Like, go check out the beaches and stuff. Will you come back on our show? Maybe when you are traveling around China or in Thailand, maybe you can
Mhm.
drop by and say hello to us. Yes.
Yes, of course.
Well, brother, I need to ask you something. Like Nahuatl, all right? This language is very interesting because it is not a common language at all. For ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know, Nahuatl is one of the, how would you describe it? It's an indigenous language, right?
Yes, like that is the language where whole Mexico, like most of the part of Mexico, speak this language before the Spanish people arrive here. Well, like it is like the biggest. Like there are some people calling Nahuatl uh, El Mexicano, like they call it as the Mexican language. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes, I think I decided to learn that language because it's really interesting for me to find out a lot of places here in Mexico City named in Nahuatl, and then the people just
Hmm.
don't know the meaning of those words. So that make me so curious about this language. For example,
Well,
like there are places like Naucalpan,
now,
Cuautitlan, or for example, Tlalnepantla, Tlalpan. These places, they are all named in Nahuatl. It's very interesting. Yes.
yeah, this sounds interesting. That sound, right? The TL sound, the tl, that is a signifier of Nahuatl, right?
Sound, well, like it could appear on the nouns
Okay.
in Nahuatl. Sometimes they end with tl, but it's not like tl. It's just like
Tl-
uh-huh,
uh,
soft.
what? Tla, like tla te loco, the tla, right? Something like that. Hmm. And it's how does it work? I mean, it's like an alphabet. They have an alphabet system.
Mm,
And,
yes, uh, like you can write it like just with the alphabet, the Spanish alphabet. That's all. And like the grammar, I think the grammar of Nahuatl is very similar to Chinese grammar and English grammar too, because like everything is how can I say that? Like for example, let's say a black car. So you say black car. Or for example, in Spanish, you need to say coche negro. The first
Okay.
word is coche and then negro.
Right.
But in Nahuatl, you need to start with tliltic, guess that is black, and then the word car. I don't know how to say that yet. The order is like in Chinese order, like 黑色的车, black car.
Black card, like English, right?
Yeah.
Black card. So what did you do like when you were studying in the university? You were obviously interested in languages, and did you feel like you want to do something with languages, like in your life, like to work with language?
Oh, actually, I am doing a project I'm doing a project teaching Chinese to Spanish speaking people. And in this case, because my major is called applied linguistics, and it's like teaching languages, mostly English, but I don't teach English, I teach Chinese. So I'm doing this project to teach people whoever want to learn Chinese. And I think like we don't have to feel scared, like we don't have to be afraid of learning a language, because like for most of the people here in Mexico and there in China, most of the people use more than 10 years learning English and they cannot speak it, and they start to think that, oh, learning a language use more than 10 years and it's very difficult. No, but that's not true, it's not real. Like I think like learning a language is, it don't have to take that much time. It could be something very fast.
Oh, tell the people, man. Tell the people. I'm sure they are very interested because a lot of people do have this wrong impression. Yes, go on.
But no, that's not true. Like because like for example in China or here in Mexico, the teaching program of English language, how can I say that, is not that well designed. That's what I can say. Yes, so like many people are learning a lot of things of the same level, many years, but they don't use it actually. Like I know many people who learn English less than 1 year and they can speak it without any problem. In my case, I learned Spanish. For example, Spanish is a language that is much more difficult than English. And I finished, well, kind of like finished, like I have to learn more. But there is an idea called, well, in Spanish is nivel umbral.
Umbral. Okay.
Umbral.
What is umbral?
It was to say like once you cross that level, you have the enough like competency to communicate. That is to say, for example, you don't have to be like the top, like you don't have to learn Spanish to a level that you can write academical thing. No, when you arrive to the umbral level, that's enough. With that, you can communicate with the people, you can do your grocery without any problem. I think that's all. For most of the language, I think that it's enough. So in my case, I learned Spanish in 8 months. I learned Thai like in 1 year. Thai is easier for me because it's very similar to Chinese.
Wow.
And yes, so
That's amazing, man. Because Thai looks complicated. It really looks, I mean, the letters.
It's complicated when you are writing, but when you are speaking, it's very well, because I speak Chinese, so like it's tonal language, so it's very similar.
Oh, it's also a tonal language.
Yes, they have 5 tones. In Chinese, we have 4 tones, and my dialect we have 8 tones. So it's a lot.
Can you give some example of the tones in Thai?
Yes. For example, in Chinese we have only 4, so we have ah. And in Thai we have 5, so it's ah. This is the 5 tones in Thai. And for example, in my dialect we have 8, so it's
That's Teochew.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta pause you for a second. Can you demonstrate the 8 in Teochew? So it's
You look up
straight.
Well, and then we say
Okay.
It's the second one. nearly the same as Chinese. You go it should be short and then now it's the Chinese tone
Okay.
something like that. It's difficult the tones in my dialect because how can I say that many years ago the people speak Chinese as my dialect. It's the ancient Chinese pronunciation. That's why it's so complicated. Now the Chinese pronunciation is easier.
Wow. Okay. Can you explain to the people, because I think some people are confused when they think of the languages in China. Okay. So everybody knows that Mandarin, right? Okay. So we know that Mandarin seems to be the common one. But then there's also this thing like what you just said of old Chinese, traditional Chinese, and new Chinese. Can you explain like
Okay.
what is the difference, and what is Teochew in relation to Mandarin? For the people who don't understand.
Okay. So in China, like we can separate China in 10 dialect zone. So
Okay.
in the north of China, their dialect is nearly the same as Chinese Mandarin. They are nearly the same thing. Like for example, if I don't know their dialect, I can understand like maybe 40% when they are speaking, 30-40% when they speak in their dialect, because you can just understand that it's a like they pronounce it in a weird way.
Okay.
That's the North dialect. But
Okay.
if you draw a line from Shanghai, okay, every city below Shanghai is the south part of China. So everybody have their own language. Why? Because I think the big reason is because of the geography. Because at the north, it's like everything is flat, right? There's no mountain, so it's very easy to communicate with each other. So the people of the north, they prefer to use the same thing, like between everybody. For example, it's interesting to know that because I have several friends from the north of China, and they told me that they feel shy. They feel like very shy when they speak their dialect in front of their friends because they don't want to be special. They don't want to speak in something that others don't understand. They prefer to be the same as the others. And that's very weird. That's very different from us because for me, like for example, we feel proud of speaking our own dialect. We feel very proud of that because in the geography, the south of China, there's a lot of mountains that separate one village from others, right? So even if we are very close, we don't need to communicate with each other because of the mountain. We just don't have contact. So
Okay.
one speak our own dialect, so it's very different. So the dialects of the south of China, everything is different. Like each place have their own dialect, very different from others. For example, if a person from the north of China come to my city, and they don't know anything of my dialect, they cannot understand anything, like 0%. Because there's nothing in similar. For example, I will give you an example in Chinese dialect, in Chinese Mandarin. I will present myself. I will say, 大家好，我叫丁耀，我在墨西哥城，现在我们正在电台上说话。But if I say everything in my dialect, it will be like, 大家好，我叫做丁耀，我始終在墨西哥聲個做電台嘅節目。So it's like very different.
Can you say that again one more time?
我叫做丁耀，我始終在墨西哥聲，我始終攞電台個做節目。
Okay, I have to say, I understand Mandarin and Hokkien, but I only got like maybe 5% of that.
Hokkien is similar to my dialect, actually. Hokkien is similar. Like I can understand when people speak in Hokkien, but I cannot speak like them because our accent is very different. And my dialect is part of Hokkien. That's why it's similar.
And quick question. So when you're really pissed off and you want to swear, what language comes out of your mouth?
Oh, depends on to who, right? For example, to my cats, I will speak everything in Spanish. Like with my cats, I speak in Spanish with my cats, because I think like they don't understand Chinese. So
Yo, okay, that's true. depends on who. But what I find also, sometimes it depends on how angry you are. Or, because sometimes when you reach a point, right, it's like it doesn't matter who is there or what language they speak. It's like your natural. Like for us, for Singaporeans, I can say it's Hokkien. It doesn't matter if you're Indian, Malay, or whatever. If you reach that point, the Hokkien is just gonna flow. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, yo, this is such an interesting conversation, and there's something I want to understand more. Like when in university and you did applied linguistics, what is it that interests you? Is it the systems? Because okay, language is so intricate, is so unmanageable in a way. And if you're talking about applied linguistics or teaching a language, you have to condense it into a system so that you can teach it, right? Is this the thing that interests you?
Well, because I think like knowing how to speak a language is different from knowing how to teach a language. It's totally two things.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why I chose this major, because it's like I really love languages, and I'm already a Chinese teacher. Like I enter because I want to be a better teacher, right? So I learned a lot from my university, and I really appreciate.
Shout out to your university. What university was that?
Unam. Unam.
University. Okay, so and then like I'm just trying to put some pieces here together. Like you say, to teach a language, of course you have to master it beyond the normal level, nivel, the level that you mentioned earlier, where you can talk to someone, you can communicate. It's like a basic level. But if you want to teach, you have to, of course, your language, your understanding has to be much stronger.
Well, I think like also depends on the students. Like if you want to teach students, like maybe kids and university students, the proficiency of your language is different, right? So in this case, like the proficiency of the language is important, but it's not the only thing. The other part, like knowing how to teach, knowing how to have good exercise with the students, is also very important.
Right.
Depends, right?
Yes. The communication part, right? That part, like, and would you say that is kind of something that is maybe a reason why you like languages so much, because you actually love people, like you love to communicate?
I think yes, it could.
Yes, right.
It is, yes, because like I think like if I can speak their own language, it's better than having English in the middle, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that English is not a bad language. It's very, very useful, but it's different. Like if somebody approach me and start to say everything in my dialect, I will feel like, wow, this is different.
I
Like,
know this guy, right? Like something like that, right?
yes, that's why I want to learn more of the languages. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it almost feels like a kind of a emotional engineering kind of thing when you talk about applied linguistics, because I mean, with normal engineering, you are finding a system that works, and you know it works all the time when 1 + 1 is 2. But here with languages, I mean, you are dealing with people and stuff, so there's of course other factors which you factor in, right? Like you say you are a Chinese teacher. um do you obviously you enjoy teaching people, right?
Yes, yes. I like teaching people, because it's not like, how can I say that, like teaching a language is not, as we were saying, it's not just teaching the grammar thing, the
Uh-huh.
linguistic thing. No, we also need to teach about the culture, and that's the part. This is the part that I really like, because I help people. I can like help those people who is interested in learning this language to know more about my culture and kill the estereotipos, right? Like,
Stereotypes, the stereotypes, yes.
yeah.
So the work that you're doing is really a really blessed work, because it's like you're bringing truth, you're bringing the truth to
Not
people.
truth. Like I just give them like a door, a new door, or a new window
No,
to
exactly.
understand more a, bit, a little bit more of my culture, I think.
You present them like the door, the what is the truth, and then they step through it, and then they understand, and then the stereotypes melt away, the stereotypes burn away, right? Yo, Dean, this has been an amazing conversation. We got about 5 minutes left. I got a barbershop question for you, since you have access, or you studied, and you've danced with all these languages. Quick question: English, Spanish, which is more difficult?
Spanish.
Oh, okay, all right. That's one for the Spanish. Why would you say that?
Because English is very easy. Well, because like in Spanish, you have the conjugation of all words. Like you cannot just say like I go, you go, he goes. We
Okay.
go, they go, they go. But in Spanish, it's like yo voy, tú vas, él va, vamos, van. Everything is different. First, secondly, in Spanish, you have the female gender and the male gender, so it's very complicated. And besides that, we have the subjunctive tense, indicative tense, and subjunctive tense. So Spanish is difficult, but it's beautiful. And
Beautiful.
yes, I think it's
Really beautiful.
like learning Spanish. I think that if you already know English, learning Spanish is not very difficult, but it's still difficult. But not that difficult as Russian. Russian is horrible.
Yeah, Russian is difficult. It's tough.
Yes, so it's the most difficult language that I learned until now. It's very
Wow.
difficult. I haven't finished learning.
Shout out to our Russian friends. We know a few of you here, and wow. So, what would you say? I mean, what closing words would you have for someone who is interested, not just in wanting to speak languages, but in wanting to go deeper? Because like you have gone deeper with languages, in understanding and teaching. What advice would you give someone who wants to go in that direction?
Well, I think like if you want to learn, if you want to know about a new part of the world, just go there and enjoy it. Don't listen to others, right? Because like others give you stereotypes, right? Others give you their ideas, but you have to discover everything by yourself, and that is the most beautiful part of living.
Yes, that's what I mean, brother. The truth. You bring the truth, man. For real, for real. Yes, for real. And I see these two pictures behind you. You speak French?
No. It's just a
See,
gift.
this is the stereotype, right? This is stereotype.
Yeah, just
You look at
gifts.
that and say assume, right? Yeah. I see. Okay, and then another one. What advice would you give someone who is having some kind of fears? Where they have some kind of fears where they feel like, I have spent too many years being a certain way. Now, if you want me to learn a new language, it's going to be very difficult because I cannot change the way I think. I cannot change the way my emotions flow. What would you say to someone like that?
Well, driving is very difficult, and most of the people know how to drive. So learning a language is very similar to learn how to drive. So if you already know how to drive, or if you already know how to swim, learning a language is just the same. No, it's not a big deal. You can do it.
Do you have your personal system, like a cheat code for whenever you come into contact with a new language that you're trying to understand? Like, do you have your own kind of system of?
Well, I will learn like, for example, what I'm doing now, I already know many expression in Thai. So when I start to learn Russian, I want to know the same expression in Russian.
Okay.
So I can speak like nearly the same thing in many different languages.
Many different,
Like
right?
I don't have to learn from zero, right? I can speak the same thing. That's what I'm trying to do, and that's I think is my trick to learn a new language quicker.
Your own system, right? Like your own linguistic system, right? That's really interesting. What has been the easiest language for you to pick up? Like really easy.
Thai.
Thai. Wow, really?
Chai.
Really interesting. Maybe you were Thai in one of your past lives. Maybe. No, just kidding.
Well, my mom was in Thailand when she was pregnant. She was
Oh, okay.
maybe. Okay.
Wow, that's really interesting. Okay. So maybe who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe there's some reason why you have a love for Thai languages. Well, Din, it's been amazing. Thank you for having for coming on the show today and sharing with us this part of yourself and showing us actually these things are actually possible. These things are possible because look, you are doing it, right? And learning all these languages, it's something that we really appreciate, and we want to thank you again for coming onto the show, that foreign show, ladies and gentlemen. This is Din, all right, and it's been amazing, all right. That foreign show here on ADR Networks, activating your senses. My name is Isaac, and we want also to invite you guys to think a bit about what we've been talking about. You know, like in terms of languages, like what Din mentioned earlier. In Chinese, in Mandarin, there's a phrase when we used to talk about languages. You talk about a door of languages, right? That's what they used to describe it. So it's not just a cold fixed thing like a group or a box. It's actually an active thing. It's like a real thing. It's something that you can step through and access another world. So beautiful languages are, culture as well, people as well. So thank you so much for being here with us today. My name is Isaac. That's Din. Thank you, Din. You're gonna come back on the show again, right? Another time?
Yes, of course.
Maybe when you're in Thailand?
Yeah,
All
it will
right.
be amazing.
It'll
Thank
be
you for
amazing.
inviting.
You're welcome. This is ADR Networks, that foreign show, TFS, activating your senses. Peace. Yeah.
Thank you to all who joined us here on That Foreign Show. It's been awesome. I'm Celestine Angel.
And I'm Isaac Crouch, and we'll see you next Friday. Have a great weekend, y'all.
That foreign show.